free. Matt Pavlich and Ron Finns, the linesmen. The penalties have been called: 2 for 6, 8, 9 for the Flyers, 4 for the Rangers. For the third period action, let's go Flyers and let's go Don Earl.
Thank you, Gene. And it's going to be the Flyers moving to our right. Clark draws it back to Dave Schultz. Schultz up the right side on his off wing, gets across the blue line, trying to close him, but sweeps it into the right wing corner. Centering pass blocked off by Peter Stemkowski. Kept in by Ashby. Ashby rolls it behind the net, picked up by Brad Park around to the far wing for Bruce McGregor. Breaking with Stemkowski, kept in the zone by Clark. Now it's McGregor coming out the near side, escapes a Clark check. Here comes McGregor feeding off to Stemkowski. The drive, glove save. Perrant feeds off to Dave Schultz. Schultz up to Clark, and Clark just banks it off the far boards, captured at center ice and dumped right back in again by Dale Rolfe. Perrant takes the rebound, feeds off to Flett. Kept in the zone by Rolfe. Stemkowski tries to spring it loose for McGregor, but here's Moose DuPont wheeling in his own zone. Threads a pass which would have been offside anyway, and it's going to be icing now against the Flyers as Dale Rolfe touches a face-off in the Flyers zone down to our left.
We have no further scoring, although we may be getting it now on the message board here. It says in Chicago, the second period, Hawks 2, and I think we've already given you that. The Hawks 2 and the Bruins 4. And I don't know if they're going to give the goal scorers. Don had the early ones, but we don't have them now. It was Shepard and Hodge in the first period for Boston and Martin for Chicago. Kachuk line that's been effective tonight against McLeish.
Face-off controlled by the Flyers this time. Jimmy Watson up to McLeish on the left wing boards. He just dumps it to center ice to no one in particular. Now it's Nielsen to Kachuk. Right wing, the left wing closing. Vickers poked away from the puck by Bernie Perrant. Now it's McLeish from Dornhofer. Can't get out of the zone. Vickers dumps it right on the stick of Jimmy Watson. Watson to center. Lead pass for Dornhofer. Dornhofer across the line. Can't get a shot away. Skated to the corner by Rod Sealing. Centering pass by Lonsbury is blocked off. Dorney trying to dig it loose. Still digging. Dorney's tough in those corners. Here's McLeish. A shot in front as he tried to deflect it off of Lonsbury. McLeish gets it back again. Shot is wide as Lonsbury was camped right in front of Jockerman. Now it's Vickers. Banks it off the backboard to the far corner for Fairbairn. Fairbairn gets around McLeish and comes to center ice. His pass on the stick of Vickers. Vickers drives from the line. Glove save, Perrant. Drops it off for Jimmy Watson. Up to center ice, controlled by New York. It's Rod Sealing. Sealing slows down play a bit. Gives it off to Nielsen. Off the stick of Kachuk to Fairbairn. Now controlled by Jimmy Watson. To center ice. Bouncing puck picked up on the right wing. Fairbairn puts it right on the stick of Don Selesky. Selesky winds up, fires from outside. The rebound controlled by Gildaire as Kindrachuk goes in after it, tries to turn the corner. He's smothered by a Brad Park check, and now it's Rolfe. And Kindrachuk is out. Kindrachuk is out. And they're allowing play to continue. I don't believe it. They're allowing play to continue. Brian Lewis saw it and allowed play to continue.
Well, he took a look and saw him down and waited until he obviously saw he wasn't moving. And then I think even Ed Jackerman made sort of a semi-signal, and then he blew the whistle as the Rangers broke at the Flyer line. Kindrachuk went in there in a heap, fighting for that puck, and went down, and you couldn't really tell for sure that there had been an injury until Jackerman and the Rangers broke off, and he just did not move. There goes the Flyers doctor out there, John Wolfe, being taken out by Barry Ashby, and Kindrachuk appears to be unconscious as they rolled him over on his back. And perhaps we can recapitulate that play as the puck went loose on a Karamov, the shot from in front taken behind. Kindrachuk went in there with a Ranger. They bumped against the board. He dug it out and looked to center it, and then he went headlong down, and it appeared as if Brad Park, coming from the left side of the net, caught Kindrachuk in the neck or in the head with his knee, and that very easily could have caused the unconsciousness. And Kindrachuk went down, and you couldn't tell for sure, as we said, that there was an injury there until he did not move. So with 17:32 remaining in the third period, the score is tied at 3.
It takes some searching to make a tomorrow.
It takes some doing to make a dream come true.
It takes MAP to help the two of you
do something beautiful.
Brighten your world with colorful MAB Richlux paints. Available at MAB paint stores, dealers, and Richlux home centers.
Brighten your world for tomorrow today.
Back at Madison Square Garden, we're early in the third period with a tie hockey game, and Oris Kindrachuk, and battling for the puck behind the Ranger net, tried to center, and as he fell forward towards the outside of the net, he apparently ran into a Brad Park knee and was knocked unconscious, and he's still a little bit wobbly as he's being escorted by Moose DuPont on his left and Rick McLeish on his right to the Flyers players bench. And I guess just where Kindrachuk is situated will determine just how he was injured or how seriously. If he goes to the bench, you would appear as he is going to bench, so he was just shaken up and will just need some recuperative time there to get himself back in the fettle. But it was Kindrachuk falling forward and his head colliding, I'm sure, with Brad Park's right knee as Park came around to help. And the play was stopped on the ensuing rush-up ice at the Flyer line. 3-3 the score, 17:32 left. Rattel line out against Chris Blind, and play is on.
Puck comes off the near boards to Barry Ashby, gets by him, but an offside is called against New York as one of the Rangers was in the zone before the puck. Face-off outside the Flyer blue line. So we've got a brand new hockey game. The Rangers coming back to tie it late in the second period on a goal by Vic Hadfield from Rod Gilbert at 18:44. Banked off the Flyer backboards, controlled by DuPont behind the Flyer net to our left. DuPont cuts right in front of Perron, a dangerous move. Lead pass intended for Barber. He can't handle it. Now it's Park to the near side for Rolfe, back to Park on the far side. Here's Rattel at center. Drops it off for Park. Park up to Rod Gilbert. He's bumped off the puck. Crisp off the backboard for DuPont in the far corner. Forechecking is Rattel. Breaks up the play. DuPont can't sweep it out to the breaking Barber. Now it's Ashby to Selesky coming up the right wing. Selesky across the red line, fires at long range, kick save. Jacquemin comes up the slot, kept in the zone by Ashby. Crisp goes for it, bouncing puck in front. Barber is tied up. Crisp goes for it, loose puck, and it's skated away by Ted Irvin. Now it's Rattel, the lead man, across the Flyers line. Shot, kick save, the right pad of Perron, flicks out as back come the Flyers. Selesky tries to lead Crisp, but the puck hops over his stick. Gilbert. Cutting inside of Gilbert was Bob Kelly. Kelly bumped off the puck, and back comes New York. Clark stays with Gilbert. He back passes to Sealing. Sealing up to Walter Kachuk. Right wing. It's Stemkowski. McGregor on there. Not Kachuk. Here comes Jimmy Watson out to Flett. Flett across the New York line. Cuts to the top of the slot. Still controlled. Flett trying to find some daylight. Drops it back to Van Emp. Throw a screen, cleared away from the slot by Sealing, but it's controlled by Jimmy Watson. Ron Harris broken up by Clark. Now it's Kelly back for the Flyers. Across the red line. Kelly fires from the blue line. Off the stick hand of Jacquemin. He's roving, looking for McGregor, but it's going to go back to the Flyer zone. Jimmy Watson will reach it before it's icing. Passes up the boards. The Rangers get control. Nielsen blocked in front by Jimmy Watson. Now it's Clark bumped by Stemkowski. Nielsen at center ice. Across to Sealing. Sealing from the red line. A bouncer. Glove save on the first hop by Perron. Van Imp up the right wing boards for Flett. Lead pass intended for McLeish. Gets by Park. McLeish goes for it. Pokes it away from Jacquemin, but Jacquemin had enough on it to sweep it to the near corner. Rolfe coming up the left wing to Stemkowski. Shot wide of the Flyer net. Perron puts it behind the net for Ashby. Trying to tie it up there. Gets it up to Lonsbury. Lonsbury trying to get around Park as they're sending two men in deep. The Rangers pressing. Here's Ron Harris. Shot wide. As 17,500 Ranger fans here in Madison Square Garden are voicing their approval with every Ranger move. Here comes Brad Park. Play broken up by McLeish. McLeish across the New York line. Fires. Glove save. Jacquemin plays it to the far corner for Bill Fairbairn. Fairbairn challenged by McLeish. Now the lead pass goes to Walter Kachuk at center. Gets by McLeish. Across the line using McGregor as a screen. Bouncing puck goes to the far corner. McLeish trying to get control. Look out in front. Back out a great save, Perron. A super save by Bernie Perron. As we've got Vickers and DuPont jousting in front of the Flyer net. Play still on. A drive by Dale Rolfe. Another great save as Perron leaps out to front of that. Rebound and tie it up. 43 left in third period play. The score is tied 3-3.
Hardee's wants to stake you to a great sandwich, the Hardee's Steak Sandwich. All you have to do is buy a steak sandwich, and Hardee's will give you another one free. It's thick and juicy beefsteak, flaked and formed for tenderness, broiled, not fried, for that delicious charcoal flavor, and served on a toasted sesame roll with a bed of crisp lettuce and topped with Hardee's special steak sauce. So buy one steak sandwich, and Hardee's will give you another one free. Offer good for a limited time only at participating Hardee's.
Back here at the Garden, Bernie Perron looking on imperturbably as he just came up with a series of fine saves, particularly on a bullet from the left point by Dale Rolfe through a screen. Couldn't handle a rebound at first, but then dove out in front to fall on it as Vickers was coming from the corner looking for the loose puck.
Back to live action again. Dave Schultz overskates the puck in his own zone. Gilbert gets the shot away. A great skate save, Perron. He's quick as a cat. And the score is tied 3-3 as it's tied up just outside the Flyers' blue line. Nielsen for New York. Bill Barber, the Flyers.
Shots were 23-11, 2-1 the margin after 2 periods, and the Rangers are building on that total as they keep peppering away on Perron in the first 6.5 minutes of period number 3.
Flyers have got to get an offense rolling here if they're going to pull this one out. Bill Barber double-teamed and broken up as Rattel drops it across the way for Rod Sealing. Return pass now picked up by Nielsen. Nielsen across the Flyer blue line. Feeds off, but offside is the call as I believe Gilbert went across the line a fraction before the puck.
Jean Rattel, who is coming into tonight with his 60th game in playoff hockey, and oddly enough only 8 goals. He has not been, by New York standards, a playoff goal scorer.
Face-off control by the Rangers. Nielsen off the skate of Rattel inside the Flyer line. Knocked right back out again by Dave Schultz. Jimmy Nielsen right on the stick of Schultz. Schultz back across the New York line. Winds up and fires, but it's blocked by Sealing. And a good defensive move by the New York defenseman. Then intercepted by Rattel. Across the Flyer line. On the right wing, Gilbert spun around, and Jimmy Watson's going to be going out. The delayed call finally Chris touches, and it's going to be, I believe, holding on Jimmy Watson. And again, with 12:49 left in the third period, the score is tied at 3-3.
Say you need to borrow $1,000. Normally, the interest is added in advance. Then your monthly payments are figured on this much. Now, Girard Bank has a new kind of loan. It's called the Simple Interest Loan. With this loan, every time you make a payment, you pay interest only on what's left. That means you save money when you double up on payments or make payments early. And since the interest rate on this loan is lower, you'll save even more money. Girard Bank's Simple Interest Loan. It's simple arithmetic.
Back here, Jimmy Watson picks up a holding penalty at the unlucky number of 7-11 of the third period, and the Rangers already pressing. It gives them a power play for the Flyers. Gives them their 10th penalty of the game of 14 called by Brian Lewis.
Face off in the circle to the left of Perron. Power play drive by Russo, deflected wide by one of the Flyers up front. I think it was Clark. Clark's drive knocked down by Lonsbury and cleared the length of the ice. Well, not quite the length. Back into the New York zone as Russo feeds up to Kachuk. Now it's Russo starting out of his own zone. Russo through center ice. Dumps it to the Flyers near corner to our left. Goes behind the net. Perron puts it right on the stick of Russo. Winds up and fires. Blocked in front by Ashby. As Perron made the instinctive move, he's still on both knees, getting up slowly. Now it's Rousseau back for the Rangers. Puck stopped at the Flyer line. Clark takes a flick at it. Now it's Vickers on the left wing, dumping it to the right wing corner. Karam taken off the boards by DuPont, and he dumps it the length of the ice, forces Giacomo to come out and make a routine save. Again, it's Rousseau, sparking the power play attack, gets by McLeish. Now to Rattel. Rousseau. Rattel, centering pass, intercepted. Gary Dornhofer looks and lofts a high shot that goes in the rampway across the way between the two benches.
funny, you've got two pros there. Perrant was pointing to center ice, saying a deflection, and Rousseau was pointing back to the circle. Esposito, Savard have scored in the second period for Boston, and McKean, I believe, was the one for Chicago. 4-2, Boston at the end of two. Magnuson make that. All right, 55 seconds remaining on Van Impe's penalty. 11:44 in the third period. We're tied at 3.
Again, it's in the circle to the left of Perrant. Jean Rattel against Rick McLeish. Puck loose in the slot. Look out. Coming up with a loose puck is Dornhofer. Comes to center, moves it ahead for McLeish. He stopped at the New York line by Russo. Park takes a Dornhofer check and rolls across the way. McLeish trying to dig it loose. Upends Rattel. Comes up with a puck. He's bumped hard by Brad Park. Forced to cough up the puck, and Gilbert winds up out of his own zone. He fires it off the right wing boards, comes right in front of Perrant, skated behind the net as Ashby is double teamed. Ashby trying to get loose. DuPont moves in. Gilbert can't get the puck. Loose out front. Shot. Great save. Perrant score. And the Rangers have taken a 4-3 lead in a scramble in front of the Flyer net.
I don't know who scored that goal, but it was just inevitable the way the Rangers have been playing in this third period. They kept swarming and pressing. At that time, Ashby appeared to have the puck behind his net, but the Rangers sent 2 men in. They double-teamed him. DuPont tried to come in and control, but in came that little Gilbert, who's been a spark tonight, to steal it away, shoot it in front. There are a couple of shots, and finally a scramble and a mass of flares that trickled through. And for the first time in this series, the Rangers lead it by the score of 4-3, and they've scored 3 in a row after trailing 3-1. Again, it was Gilbert after DuPont was held off, or Ashby, by Irvin, where Gilbert came out, threw it right out in front. An attempt at a block. In it came off Brad Parker was right there. He shot. Perrant appeared to make the save. It rolled beneath him. I don't think he knew where it was, and then it trickled and was lifted in perhaps again by Brad Park, and it was off DuPont's stick. So Park should get the goal at 8:56. And it would be a power play goal.
Brad Park does get the goal as we're back to live action again. Puck in the New York zone. Rod Sealing, checked by Bill Flett. Now it's Flett battling for it across the way with Stemkowski. Harris sends Bruce McGregor away. One man back is Tom Bladen. McGregor shoots. Great save as Bladen upset McGregor enough so he couldn't get a shot on goal. As deadly as Bruce McGregor is, he still managed to get a blistering shot away, and it took a great save by Perrant to kick it loose.
Stanley Cup playoff books are here, and the Stanley Cup record book, well, it's hot. Crammed full of records. It's $1.50 if you come to the Spectrum, or $1.50 plus 50 cents for mail if you write to the Flyers novelty department. That's Park. His third goal of this playoff year, his second against the Flyers from Gilbert and Irving. At 8:53, a power play goal, and the Flyers now have been burned twice in their last 2 penalties.
Quick whistle out the faceoff. We'll try it once more, and the Flyers have been in disarray throughout this entire third period as the Rangers have really carried the attack to them. The Flyers led at 1.31. The Rangers have come back with 3 unanswered goals. Bobby Clark trying to come up the right wing. Gets it ahead for Bill Barber. Back to Clark. He's taken down the hard check. A light check by Harris. Much the same type of check that he threw on Esposito last year. That put him out of action. Barber battles in the far corner with Sealing for it. Sealing moves it ahead for Harris. He's bumped hard by Joe Watson in return. And now here comes McGregor once more. Overskates the loose puck and Joe Watson. And we've got a penalty coming up again against the Flyers as Brian Lewis is calling them all against the Flyers with 10:03 to go in the third period. It's 4-3 New York.
Hi, I'm the Tasty Baker. I see you're eating one of my delicious Tasty Cake fruit pies.
Yep.
You know, nobody wraps up the great taste of fruit like Tasty Cakes.
Uh-huh.
You know, that's cause Tasty Cake takes great tasting apples, cherries, blueberries, and peaches, and wraps them up in a pastry shell. So you get great fruit taste in every bite of Tasty Cake fruit pie.
Tasty Cake pies are all the good things wrapped up in one.
Hey, that's my line.
Back here at the Garden, Joe Watson picks up a second penalty of the game. This one for slashing against Bruce McGregor, as Bruce went after Bladen on a one-on-one again. Watson took a good whack at him right outside the blue line, and that's what Brian Lewis called. So the Rangers, who scored just moments ago at 8:53, have another opportunity with a power play. They lead 4-3.
Rattel this time flanked by Irvin and Gilbert. Of course, Hadfield injured late in the second period. The draw back to Park across to Russo. Gilbert takes a drive, glove save as that puck was aimed over the net. Perrant speared it and tied it up for face-off again in that same circle to his left. 4-3 New York with 9:57 left here in the third period of play.
Yeah, and it was the drive from the point. Perrant reaching wide to make sure he controlled the puck.
Back to live action again. It's Rod Gilbert. Back to the right point. Rousseau. The drive. It's wide of the Flyer net. Karams to the near boards as Flett tries to move it ahead for Crisp. Broken up by Park. Here comes Ted Irvin. Across to Gilbert. Can't get a shot away, and Gilbert's going to be going off for hooking. The first penalty called against New York since back at the 10:55 mark of the second period of play.
That's the Flyers' opportunity now to break off that power play that just served 25 seconds with Joe Watson off. So Gilbert picks up his first penalty of this set as Gilbert took down Crisp on the hook just as Terry tried to break along the near side and pick up a loose puck. The time of the penalty is 10:22. So they'll play 5 aside for 1:35, and then the Flyers will have a little short power play, a mini power play of less than a half minute. There have been 15 penalties now called in the game, 10 against the Flyers. Make that 11 against the Flyers and 5 against the Rangers of 16 by Brian Lewis.
Face-off outside the Flyers' blue line as they go with McLeish and Lonsbury, Barry Ashby and Moose DuPont. New York counters with Walter Tkachuk and Bill Fairbairn, Dale Rolfe and Brad Park. Here's Tkachuk across the line, blocked off. DuPont tries to clear, gets another chance at it, but the pass is behind McLeish, controlled at center by Park. Crosses to the near side for Dale Rolfe. Rolfe to Tkachuk along the left wing boards. Back to Rolfe, closing, glove save. And Perrant steers it off for Lonsbury, puts it right on the stick of Park. Park centering pass intercepted by Lonsbury. Lonsbury trying to move it to center ice, does, but it's controlled by New York. Rolfe across to Fairbairn. Fairbairn takes a light bump by Lonsbury, trying to tie him up, finally does, right in front of the Ranger bench door. And I believe Fairbairn had thoughts about trying to mix something up, as did DuPont.
Flyers, after a nip and tuck second period with both teams playing cautious hockey, took a 3-1 lead. Barber a power play goal with Ralph off. And that seemed to sting the Rangers. 2 minutes later, they got the power play goal back on one of their own by Vickers. 4 minutes later, a score by Gilbert, and a power play goal here at 8:53 of the third period. Make that a power play goal by Park to make it 4-3, their first lead of the series and of the night, of course.
On the face-off, New York controls. Both teams playing one man short. Gilbert will be back in a minute 17, but Joe Watson will be back in 50 seconds. Again, it's tied up across the way, again in front of the New York Ranger bench. Jimmy Watson, along with Bill Fairbairn. So the face-off will be just outside the Ranger blue line on the Flyers' left wing.
Horace Kindrachuk has not made an appearance back on the ice after being shaken up. He's seated over at the bench directly next to Barry Ashby to his left. And it may be that Fred Shuro would be concerned enough about his shaky legs and that haziness, if any exists, to send him back in there right now. So he'll go with Crisp, McLeish, and Clark the rest of the way. But the Flyers have to come to the Rangers. They need a goal. In fact, they need 2. As it cannot end in a tie. So the Flyers now, as we reverse our stats, know that the minimum they can do is they've got to shut out the Rangers the rest of the way and score 2 themselves to win this one.
Face-off intercepted. A shot by Dornhofer deflected wide behind the net. Loose in front, but cleared away by Bruce McGregor. McGregor, the veteran, comes to center ice. Lead pass to Stemkowski. Centering pass. McGregor couldn't get his stick down as he was tied up. And now it's Terry Crisp with Gary Dornhofer. The low man back is Sailing. Dornhofer back to Jimmy Watson. The drive blocked in front by Rod Sailing, and back comes Stemkowski. Stemkowski on the right wing. Going to try and do it alone. Pulls up short, waits for a man to pass to. Drives on Perrant. Routine stick save. Terry Crisp starts out. Lead pass to Dornhofer on the right wing. Dorney comes through center. Winds up at the line, blocked off by Nielsen. And picking up the loose puck is Stemkowski. Stemkowski, lead pass too far for McGregor to reach. Crisp crosses to Bladen along the near side at center ice. Bladen cuts around Nielsen. Ahead for Clark. Loses control. And with the Flyers enjoying the power play for the next 11 seconds, the Rangers ice the puck. DuPont starts from his own end. Up to Barber at center ice. Barber bounces one to the New York corner. Rebound out of the net is Jackman. Barber has it. Looking for an open man to pass to. Behind the net for Clark. Clark kicks the puck loose. Trying to come out of that far corner. Back to DuPont. DuPont puts it back in the corner for Flett. Flett to Clark. The shot hits the backboard. Rebounds to the near side. Barber trying to tie it up, and it's played to center ice by Gilbert. As both teams are back full. Here comes DuPont. Deep in the right wing corner. Centering pass. Goes right through the goal mouth, and here comes Fairman back for New York. Fairman up the right wing as Barber chases him. Barber leans on him, and Fairman spins away from the check, but the puck is tied up in the far corner for a faceoff.
6:59 remaining in regulation play, and we'll look back perhaps at the end of the game on that breakaway with Dornhofer and just one man back. And Dornhofer did not take the shot, and his pass, which appeared to be behind McLeish, may or may not have been intentionally a drop pass to Jimmy Watson, who waited a bit too long for an opening and fired into, I believe, Rod Sealing's pad or Jimmy Nielsen. And so the Flyers, who need a goal, and caught the Flyers up ice, or the Rangers up ice, and had them in an error 2-1. Couldn't get the shot on Jackman. Well, really, Don, for the most part of the evening, after the early surge in the first 10 minutes, has been left pretty well shot-free, as the attack has been on Perron.
Face off in the Flyer, and Schultz leads Selesky too far at center ice, controlled by Dale Rolfe. Rolfe sends it ahead for Ted Irvin. Now here's Gilbert across the line, top of the slot, the drive, and he scores. It's 5-3 New York, and the Flyers have cut themselves a mighty deep hole now with only 6:46 left in regulation time.
Well, the Rangers have come charging. They trail 2-0 and 3-1, and now they lead by a pair. As Gilbert really let that one go, and he's been to me the spark, Don, since the second period, as he has so often against the Flyers, as he made that rush right through two checkers, had one man back, and from about 40 feet, really ripped one to the short side about ankle high, and it ripped the nets, and Gilbert gets his first of the night, although really it was his second, because he scored the goal that brought the Rangers to a 3-3 score. Gilbert, and the time of the goal is 13:14. Irvin and Rolfe will get the assists on Gilbert's goal. He should have two tonight, along with an assist, but he has two assists now and a goal. Irving and Rolfe. Now they're starting to yell Eddie again, or are they yelling Bernie to go after Perron? Irving and Rolfe, and it's 5-3 Rangers.
Face off at center ice. Kachuk against McLeish. New York controls. McLeish almost broke up Park. Kachuk gets it back again off the right wing boards for Fairbairn. Gets by Lonsbury. Lonsbury breaks him up, raises the stick. Centering pass, a backhander by Vickers is just wide, as the Flyers defense is all of a sudden becoming a bit porous. McLeish touches the puck, and offside is waved off as it's tapped back to center ice by the Rangers. Joe Watson retreats inside of his own zone, trying to shake Kachuk. Ashby across for Lonsbury on the left wing. Lonsbury, right wing pass Dornhofer, trying to get by Steve Vickers, does, but loses the puck. Rolfe sends it up to Vickers. Vickers up to Harris, one-on-one, Joe Watson back. Harris, shot is wide. Rebound steered to the far corner, and now we've got Steve Vickers going at someone, and there's a third man in situation. It's Dornhofer. And Ross Lonsbury, I'm sure, will be ejected from the game as a third man in.
Now Ron Harris is over there, getting a hold of Dornhofer. Now Ashby separates him. Now Joe Watson is getting at him with Dale Rolfe, who towers over him by a good head. And Ranger fans now feel that they've got this game in the bag, 5-3 with 5:57 left. Why add a little icing of the cake with some intimidation and some battle. Flyers appeared to shake the Rangers, leading after the midway point of the game 3-1, but then Vickers Hatfield, Park, and Gilbert, two of them on the power play, have broken it open and given the Rangers a 2-goal lead. Now we're going to have some more penalties, I'm sure, and it probably will be Vickers and Dornhofer, and then perhaps Lonsbury on the third minute. 5:57 left in the third period. 5-3 Rangers.
Ford Mustang II, named Car of the Year by Motor Trend magazine.
Look what they've done to our Mustang. They named it Car of the Year.
Mustang II, the right car at the right time. Base sticker price for this two-door hardtop is just $28.95, excluding dealer prep, destination charges, title, and taxes.
See your local Ford dealer. He's 6 car dealers in one.
Back here at Madison Square Garden, we had the first all-out go, as Lonsbury has left, and he will be the third man in. So the Flyers lose Dornhofer for at least 5, or pretty much the remainder of the game, and Lonsbury for the remainder of the game. So it means that they've lost 2/3 of their big line for whatever challenge they can make in this final 6 minutes against the Rangers, who have a 2-goal lead. Well, if the Rangers win this one, Don, it assures Game 5 back at the Spectrum next Tuesday evening. We want to repeat Game 4 here Sunday afternoon at 2 o'clock with WPEN AM and FM carrying the pregame show beginning at 1:55. Vickers and Dornhofer will each get 5 minutes for fighting. And Lonsbury, the third man in on the game misconduct. 14:03 the time of the penalties. So strategically those penalties hurt because they again pretty well denude the Rick McLeish of his normal wing players on this last rush down. Well, now they're yelling they want Schultz. And Schultz has come on. Fritz Hero is obliging.
And who knows, Gene, Dave Schultz may be obliging as well.
One thing you can't accuse the Ranger fans of being front runners. They waited till they were 2 goals ahead before they got vociferous.
Face-off in the Flyer zone. A drive by Nielsen is wide, hits the backboard. Gilbert racked up by Schultz. Irvin flips a backhander to the Flyers corner. Behind the net, DuPont winds it around to the near side. As the Flyers start out, it's Tom Bladen. Bladen gets it across to McLeish. McLeish tied up by Rattel. Bladen ahead for Schultz. Offside the call by linesman Ron Finn as Schultz brought the puck in behind him. Face-off will be a neutral ice.
Don, just your observation of a comment. I think Rod Gilbert has been the spark, despite some great play by the Kachuk line, and Rattel has really been weaving, and they played their positions well. They forechecked to a fairly well and really kept the Flyers away from Jackman through the second half of the game. But I think if you had to pinpoint a guy, my guy would be Gilbert right now.
Well, right now it's Gilbert and Schultz that are joining right in front of the New York bench, and apparently Dave Schultz agrees with you, Gene, because he realizes that if he can take Gilbert off, maybe he could minimize the effect of that gag line, which has been the spark plug for New York tonight.
And now Emil Francis is instigating by putting out Ron Harris against Schultz. Something's got to go. Look at them. They're looking at one another, and the linesman is right there trying to keep them separated. They're just dropping. Here we go. They've just dropped their sticks, and nothing has happened, and already Brian Lewis has waved them to the penalty box, and I think that's right. I think it's right, and Gilbert just reached up from the players' bench and whacked Schultz with a stick.
Well, Gilbert has come on the ice, as a matter of fact. I don't know why they stopped play, Gene, because nothing was happening. Play should have been allowed to continue. There was no reason to stop play.
Let's see. Now we've got Brian Lewis going after DuPont, who just took his helmet off. He wants a piece of Schultz. And the only thing I regret here, Don, is the Flyers getting undisciplined. There's still plenty of time in this game to get 2 goals, but not if they lose too many men into the penalty box and on game misconducts. And DuPont is being separated by Brian Lewis, and he's beckoning to Harris, and Harris is being held off by Ron Finn and Matt Pavlich. and he's beckoning DuPont. And so Lewis, I think, has told DuPont to get to the bench, and he's told Schultz to get off the ice to the penalty box, and Harris the same. I don't know what you give him, Game. You can't call it roughing. The only thing I could sue is maybe give him misconduct penalties for instigation. They've already picked up 19 minutes early in the first period for roughing, charging, fighting, and misconduct against Park.
I don't think there is a rule in the rule book under instigation, Gene. I don't know what.
Inciting might be the call.
Inciting to what? Nothing happened.
Up. He's giving a clock now on Schultz, but he's not doing a thing to Harris. Now, that's the Flyers' aggravation, Don, that we want to repeat. He has looked their beans at Harris, who hasn't left the ice or done anything, but he's put a clock on Schultz. He's warned Schultz, and Harris is still standing there under the same guise as Schultz did to begin this whole penalty.
And the rule book clearly states the home team player must go to the box immediately. Harris hasn't moved from the spot. He hasn't been told to go to the box, but Schultz has been handcuffed. And now Bernie Perrant is being pelted with all sorts of debris from behind his own bench as he whacks the glass.
And now New York's finest are quickly going up behind the glass. Bernie's taking on all of New York. Go get him, Bernie.
Thus far, Gene, I haven't seen one uniformed policeman move toward that area. Not one.
Well, Schultz is done for the night. They're taking him, so it must be a game misconduct for inciting or whatever have you, and also Ron Harris. But Harris still hasn't moved, and Brian Lewis hasn't wiggled at him, hasn't given him the clock, hasn't pointed at him. Well, 5:32 remaining in the third period, and it's 5-3 Rangers.
The world premiere of big league tennis comes to Philadelphia. Billie Jean King and the Philadelphia
Lewis came over, stopped playing, whistled him off. Now Harris is going to the box for something, but Schultz is already gone. And way to go, Brian Lewis.
He blew another one. How about Gilbert coming off the bench? Nothing assessed him. That's in the book, too, Brian Lewis.
Well, right now, the discussion is being made out there. We've got DuPont now being escorted over to the penalty box, so it looks like DuPont's gone, too. And he's circling away from linesman Ron Finn, who's telling him, get somewhere. And is DuPont gone for the night or to the penalty box? Looks like he's gone for the night, too. Well, that's not bad. Ron Harris came out. They were looking for a fight, the two of them. The Flyers get two guys gone for the night, and Harris goes to the box.
Well, it's consistent at least, Gene. Brian Lewis has been calling them one way most of the night anyway, so why should he change now? You know, it's strange that the best referee, or one of the best at least, in the National Hockey League that we've seen this year, Andy Van Hellemond, was not allowed to even work the Stanley Cup playoffs. We talked with Bill Chadwick, himself a former referee in the NHL and a member of the Hall of Fame, and he echoes our sentiments to the letter. One of the best officials that we've seen all year long. So he's a rookie, but he works the game and he takes charge, and he's consistent both ways.
Of course, I'm surprised also that after this is the Flyers' 7th game of Stanley Cup action, and they've yet to see Art Skov, who's supposed to be number one. Now they're yelling, "We want blood." They were a pretty non-committal crowd, Don, when it was 3-1. Here we pick up the penalties.
To number 8, Dave Schultz, for delay in the game, 2 minutes, and a 10-minute misconduct penalty.
Schultz for delay and a misconduct.
Number 6, Andre DuPont, for roughing 2 minutes and a 10-minute misconduct penalty. Rangers penalty to number 3, Ron Harris, for delay in the game, 2 minutes.
Incredible.
I don't believe it. It's a joke. It's a joke.
That's a bad call. Well, Harris gets 2 minutes for delay of the game. And if it wasn't for, really, I don't know, maybe we're twisted, Don, that Schultz was out there, and Emil Francis obviously set up the situation by putting Harris out there to delay. He sent him out there to go. And it winds up the Flyers have 2 men in the box, plus 2 misconducts, and the Rangers have 1 man in the box. So the Flyers have to play two of the last 5 minutes and 32 seconds, 4 skaters to 3. Emil Francis is smiling now.
Well, it's a game of one-upmanship, and he's won this game. And his club may win the game on the ice, but I'll tell you, I've seen some ludicrous officiating, but this has to take the cake. It's really a joke.
Well, Moose and Schultz each received 2 for delay and a misconduct, and Harris received 2 for delay. Well, let's see how that makes it for the night. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 17 to 7 in the penalties.
Well, as I said earlier, Gene, it's consistent with Brian Lewis's officiating. All set to go with a face-off just outside the New York blue line. McLeish against Rattel. Puck skids back into the Flyers' right wing corner in the Rangers zone. Now it's Rod Gilbert moving the puck ahead. Picks it up himself as he goes around Brad Park. Across the line, drives again. It's wide to the right side. Rattel slips and falls. McLeish picks up the loose puck on the left wing, comes to center. Loses control of the puck and is broken up by Brad Park. And now Park and McLeish go at it. This is becoming a ridiculous situation.
Now let's see. He's pointed to somebody. And Park and McLeish just bumped. And Park went after him and really clipped him with a good right. I'm sure McLeish may get a game misconduct for antagonizing an all-star defenseman. Let's see what happens out of all of this. Watch out, Rick. You may get 2 for going. Up, he got him good. Down goes Park. That's going to cost Rick some more. You just don't antagonize an all-star defenseman and then go after him. This game has really deteriorated now, Don. Now we've got McLeish. And now, again, Brian Lewis hasn't said it. Now finally he's gone over to say something to Park. But he never whistled at Harris during that whole thing with DuPont and Schultz. And the first guy went after is McLeish. And as you say, Don, the book says the home guy, get in there. And Park is continuing the bull. And Harris, Brian Lewis still hasn't gone to him and pulled the clock or shaken a finger at him. But we're going to have more penalties. This really should set up a ding-dong game Sunday, Don.
Well, the Rangers are very brave in front of their own home fans, but they were pussycats in Philadelphia. And obviously, with the Rangers ahead 5-3, if the Flyers don't pull this one out, that assures a return to the Spectrum. I want to see how brave they are there.
I'll tell you, Don, what this really does for the Flyers, they've lost Lonsberry in a game misconduct. They've lost Schultz on a misconduct. They've lost DuPont in a misconduct. They've got Dornhofer in for the rest of the game on a fight. And they've got McKindrachuk and Kelly serving minor penalties for DuPont and Schultz. And now McLeish will be off. So the Flyers will have 7 men who are unable to really participate in the remainder of the game. So it means they've got 10. They've lost Schultz a forward, Lonsberry a forward, Dornhofer a forward, Kelly a forward, McLeish a forward, and Kindrachuk a forward. And now the police are really ensconced around the New York Flyers players bench down there in order to protect both the fans and the Flyers and the fans. And Dornhofer's leaning over, way over the penalty box. He's trying to yell at somebody. And I think he's trying to yell at the Rangers in their penalty box. That would be Harris and Park. Boy, is this ever going to be a game Sunday, Don?
Gene, I recall, and let's pick up the penalties.
For high sticking 2 minutes and for fighting 5 minutes.
Incredible.
To number 2, Brad Park, for high sticking 2 minutes and for fighting 5 minutes.
Well, offsetting. 2 and 5 for both McLeish and Park.
Well, they're done for the night.
Well, at least, unless the Flyers get red hot and come back and tie this game, they would be done for a total of 7 minutes. Back to live action again as the Rangers control in their own zone. It's Rod Sealing. Sealing starts out. He's got Nielsen alongside of him to his left. Feeds to Nielsen. Up to Rattel. Rattel leveled by a Van Impe check, and he's going off. Oh, boy.
Well, the Flyers can't lose any more men. So Van Impe's penalty won't be able to start until somebody comes back on ice. But all they do now, they have 8 men who are unavailable for play. 8 men unavailable. So we look on the bench, and the Flyers have 2, 4, 6, 7 substitutes. This game is really deteriorated right now, and I can't think of a better word. It's now a straight brawl. And you can't say much more about it than just that.
I can remember a situation, Gene, between the Bruins and the Rangers here in New York back in 1970, in the first game here in New York, when Ed Giacomin actually came out of his net and told Derek Sanderson that we've been paid to get you, so watch out. And in the very next face-off, the whole Ranger team on the ice piled on Sanderson in the corner. And if there was a rule against inciting, it should have been called then, but Giacomin got off scot-free. Back to action as Sealing feeds up to Jim Nielsen in his own zone, retreats in front of his own net, feeds back to Sealing again. Of course, Van Impe's penalty won't start until the first man comes out of the Flyer box. Nielsen drops back to Stemkowski. The drive stopped by Perron and cleared to center ice. All the way back to the New York zone as Sealing was in no particular hurry to catch up with it as his club leads the Flyers 5-3. Stemkowski starts out the right side. 4 skaters to 3. Stemkowski. McGregor gets by Watson. Back to Stemmer. Puck loose. McGregor gets a shot away. Puts it back to Sealing. Sealing to the left point. Nielsen winds up, fires, kick save, another shot. Stopped by Perron off the stick of McGregor. Nielsen's going to get it back again. To the right point, Sealing. His shot deflected wide by the Flyers, and Bill Barber clears to center ice. Now it's Nielsen back for the Rangers. Into McGregor. Spun down by Ashby, who could have been called right there. Clark digs for the puck, but Sealing is there first. As Clark hits the ice hard and slides into the far boards. Here comes Dale Rolfe. Just dumps it into the zone as Jimmy Watson goes to the corner. McGregor tied up by Clark. Now it's Kelly retreating into his own zone. Kelly gets some running room and heads for center ice. Kelly gets by one man, Rolfe. Upended and spun around by Ron Harris, and again loses that glove hand. Kelly slow to get up, but here comes Bill Fairbairn on the right wing. Fairbairn blocked off by Jimmy Watson. And he dumps it the length of the ice. And it's going to be icing against the Flyers. And with 3 minutes even up left in third period play, right now we're going to pause for station identification on the Flyers
TV
Hockey
29,
Network.
WTAF TV, Philadelphia.
Back here as Kelly tried to get around Harris. He just slid that hip over and caught Bobby in the left leg and spun him around, and he fell heavily and then went into the boards, and he left the ice. And he didn't want to show it, but he was hurt. He's in pain right now, that left leg. And so we won't see Kelly the rest of that. So the Flyers are down to 5 substitutes, and I've never seen this in recent years.
At center ice, it's Harris across to Rolfe. Both teams, the Rangers still have the one-man edge as they're at full strength. Jimmy Watson behind his own net. Watson starts out, feeds up to Clark. Clark up to Selesky. Selesky fires from outside. Glove save as Giacomin looks real cool now that his club has built him a 2-goal lead. Selesky bumps Harris lightly as the puck goes the length of the ice, and it's going to be icing as Jimmy Watson touches up. Face-off in the New York zone with 2:28 left in regulation time.
56 seconds remaining on the penalty to Ed Van Impe. 2:28, as Don said, and the Rangers have a 2-goal lead in the power play. Don't forget, for those of you joining us and with us on television, stay tuned for the post-game Tasty Cake show. And Ron Harris now is back on. after serving his 2-minute delay of the game penalty. Flyers have picked up 19 penalties, the Rangers 9. And so the Rangers have gotten tit for tat after what they thought was an unfair advantage on Tuesday night when they were out penaltied 15 to them and 12 for the Flyers.
Well, that was pretty even, but 19 to 9 I would call anything but consistent, unless you want to call consistently bad. Not that the Flyers didn't earn most of those penalties, but New York, good Lord, they've been committing the same type of infractions, but not being called for it. Stemkowski can't clear out, now skates it out to center ice. Wing to wing from McGregor, broken up by Bladen, now picked up by Bill Flett. Flett drives from the line, blocked off by Nielsen, just slides in wide of the New York net. Giacomin shoves it back in the corner again. Chris gets it to Flett. Flett shot wide, a weak one. Rebound taken by Jimmy Nielsen. Lead pass off the stick of Stemkowski to center ice. Back comes Flett. He's stopped at the line by Nielsen. Bladen across to Jimmy Watson. Watson back to Crisp. He has trouble with it. He's broken up by Stemkowski. Down to 1:52 left in regulation time. Jimmy Watson off the leg of Ron Finn goes into the New York zone, but play is stopped by Brian Lewis. Face-off will be inside the Ranger blue line across the way.
12 seconds and Van Impe will be out, and the Flyers will be able to skate at full strength for the first time in a long time. As one of the determining factors, the Rangers have owned the second half of the game. There's no question about that. After the Flyers scored 11:33, it's been all Rangers since then. They've outscored the Flyers 4-0, and the shots on goal are going to be awfully one-sided right now, as it was 23-11 coming into this period, and the margin has been 2 or 3 to 1 for the Rangers here. Now Perron has gone over. He's not going to leave the ice yet, but he's gone over to talk with Fred Shearer as to just when should he break out and go to the bench if the Flyers control the draw. But the Flyers do not have Lonsbury. They do not have Kindrachuk. They do not have McLeish, DuPont, Schultz. Kelly is hurt, so they've got not many on the bench.
Here comes Ted Irvin across the Flyer line. One-on-one against Blade. The backhander is wide. Rebound comes to the near boards. Kept in by Dale Rolfe. Picked up now by Stemkowski. Stemkowski's got shooting room. Tied up and taken down by Bobby Clark. Now it's Jimmy Watson around to Van Impe. It's a wonder Brian Lewis didn't whistle a hooking call on Clark right there. Dale Rolfe feeds up for Stemkowski, hops over his stick. Bladen taps it across for Joe Watson. Up to Clark at center. Clark across the red line as Perron heads for the bench. Centering pass hits the side of the net. Clark in there, loose puck in front. Flett trying to keep it in, but it's cleared out to center ice. Stemkowski, who has 2 empty net goals already, looks for Fairbairn, and offside is the call. I thought Stemkowski might try to go for number 3.
He had 2 a week ago Sunday against the Rangers, or against Montreal. One making it, giving the Rangers a 2-goal lead, and the second one a 3-goal lead in that 5-2 win over the, or Thursday night actually, Don. I'm sorry, a week ago tonight here in that clinching game, and he made 2 in the last minute to make it a 5-2 series clinching win over Canadiens. 5-3 here, and again, Gilbert has been the spark. He should have 2 goals, but they only give him credit for 1. They gave Hatfield the credit for another. But he gets on the blank a goal and 2 assists. But he should have it the other way around, and he turned this game around with his hustle and goal set up and his 2 scores.
Okay, the Flyer net's still wide open. Ron Harris back on for New York. He's playing a defensive position along with Jim Nielsen. It's going to be Bobby Clark against Walter Tkachuk, controlled by the Flyers. Bladen across to the far side to Jimmy Watson, up to Bobby Clark. Return pass eludes Watson. Fairbairn controls. He's boxed in, and here comes Bill Barber. He's hooked from behind by Tkachuk. Play is allowed to continue. Puck kept in by Jimmy Watson. Watson gets it to the corner for Bill Flett. Out to Dornoff for the drive as he's back on the ice. Cleared. Back to the Flyer zone. And Vickers is going to take dead aim at that open net. Just missed the far post. Bill Barber has it. Sends it to center ice for Bill Flett. He can't touch it. Loose puck picked up by Clark. Clark back passes to Dornoff for closing. The drive blocked by Nielsen. And he moved it ahead to a teammate, and a good call by Brian Lewis there as He spotted Nielsen, gloving it ahead to Steve Vickers, and made the call with a face-off upcoming in the New York zone with 7 seconds to go.
Well, this is the only game in which the Flyers have not scored in all 3 periods. They've scored in the first 8 against Jackman, but they have not in this period, and the Rangers have. They broke a 3-3 tie and lead at 5-3, so it's all over. The Rangers are going to win this one with 7 seconds left, so there will be a Game 5 next Tuesday night at the Spectrum.
And as Gene said, this sets up what should be a real humdinger here Sunday afternoon with these same 2 clubs. In Game 4, Clark draws it back to Bladen. Across to Jimmy Watson. Through a screen, it hit the backboard. Bladen rushes to keep it in as the buzzer sounds to end the game. And the Rangers have finally gotten on the board game-wise as they win Game 3 here tonight. The Flyers still lead in the series 2-1. The final score, the Rangers 5, the Flyers 3. We'll be back with a wrap-up after these words.